Hi guys, this is Jean Holden, producer of the show, and I just wanted to take a minute to let you know where you can find us on the internet. Please go to ThatMan on Fatman.com. There you can find out all the things you need to know about the show. You'll be able to find links to the podcast, to YouTube, to Twitter, Facebook, even Instagram and Snapchat. Thank you so much for listening, guys, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Today's show is brought to you by Death Wish Coffee. Death Wish Coffee, the strongest coffee in the world.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of ThatMan, and I want to urge you to make a generous donation to the Wayne Foundation so we can stop the sexual trafficking of children. Do it, or I'll find you.
And don't forget to check out our good friend of the show, Mark Live, over at chundertunes.com for all your podcast animation needs. ThatMan on Fatman is recorded with a Zoom H6 handy recorder. Zoom for creators.
Disclaimer. The show you're about to experience is for entertainment purposes only. The hosts use mature language and conversation just like in most of life. If you're too uptight, this might not be for you. All that said, we really do hope you enjoy the show. But if you don't enjoy it, expect a nice big shipment of my joyous Joker juice on your doorstep in the very near future. Toodles!
As the world's biggest Kevin Smith fan, I appreciate the fact that somebody finally made a podcast about that interesting motherfucker. So, yes, you absolutely did the right thing. It was smart. I appreciate it. I think you were right to do that.
Okay, what has two thumbs and is a huge fan of Kevin Smith? ThatMan!
Yes, I am that man. The juggernaut of a podcast.
We need a costumed vigilante is what we need. Justice can't be served unless it's being fought outside the system.
Here's what we're going to do, eh?
Oh, shit. It's that man. Who is he? He's that man. He's talking. Go get him, that man.
Well, once upon a time, a regular man read a book written by the Fat Man. Tough shit, written by old Kev Smith. Kev said go out and start a podcast, and so I did, and I had a real blast. But my obsession was driving my co-host nuts. Didn't want to bring the podcast down. Needed Porkchop Murphy to hang around. So I created a new show with one heck of a plan, and I'd call that show ThatMan on Fatman, because we're going to chat about Kevin Smith. That's right, let's talk about old Kev Smith.
Yes, please note that use of all sound effects is done ironically.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this, episode 6-06. I think. If it's not, it's 6-07, but I thought it was 6-06. I am Scott Holden. This is ThatMan on Fatman. I sit here in the That Cave with none other than co-host and producer extraordinaire, Jean Holden.
Hi. Hi, everybody. What's up?
And before we get too deep, because this is going to be more of a housekeeping, or as the Nerdist calls it, a hostful episode.
Ooh, I like that.
So before we do that, let's dive deep. And also, just a heads up, if you have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Volume 2,
God, go.
We're probably going to spoil the hell out of that.
Yeah.
So just
spoilers.
A heads up in advance. But you don't have to worry about that just yet, because before that, we're going to jump right into the Smedlines. And now, direct from the That Cave, we give you the Smedlines with Jean Holden.
So, welcome back to the Smedlines. It is happening, Season 7 of Comic Book Men.
Congratulations.
The boys have been renewed. So, we will be seeing Brian Johnson. We will be seeing Walt Flanagan, Ming Chen, and Michael Zapsik once again. in Red Bank for the 7th season of Comic Book Men. Yay!
I would just like to throw out a speculation.
Yes, please.
I think my speculation is that this may be the last season.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with their performance or anything like that.
No.
But it goes back to the way TV contracts are written.
Right. And we've talked about this.
Yeah. And 7-year deals were very popular.
Right.
So to get an 8th or a 9th, generally, and I don't know this for a fact. It could be they had a 10-year deal for all I fucking know. But usually, the way they work these deals, 7's popular.
Right. 7's a good number.
Yeah. And what that means is if the show bombs before 7, the network wins anyway. And if the show, but if the show goes longer than 7, they want to extend it, then they have to go and do a whole new contract.
Oh, and they change the
money.
And
then everybody will usually wants more. I mean, that's part of the whole.
Well, I mean, it's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now, with a comic book men type show, that might not be the case. All this is speculation.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But definitely congratulations on season 7.
Congratulations, Kevin, the guys.
Because usually the way it works is the network has the option to renew each season.
Yeah, and
to the maximum of the contract.
And they've chosen 7 times.
Yeah.
So here we go, number 7.
Congrats.
So that
to the
usually
guys.
airs in February. So, and then usually this, so we'll hear more about it as it comes.
Yeah.
This
more
was
talk
a funny.
There'll be more talk on Comic Book Men later in the show.
Yeah, yeah. This was interesting. We were listening to Babel. We usually listen to it, obviously after, because we're not in California where we want to be. On Babel, Kevin. This is kind of a spoiler. Kevin was talking about the call he got from an interesting.
This was mystifying.
Now
I was mystified.
I felt like, and I'm not Kevin, but
I'm not either.
I felt like I was having an out of body experience.
Yeah, like
looking
was like,
down on.
I was like, what the fuck?
So this is what happened. Kevin
this
got
is from
Kevin
Hollywood
got
Babylon, the most recent.
Okay, so this is a spoiler. Kevin actually got a cold call from Bruce Willis. And he actually called
introduced
himself
as Bruno.
And Kevin didn't know
like who that
really
was.
First,
although Kevin should have, because he loved the return of Bruno.
Yeah, well, wasn't that his
Okay,
blues
hang
guy?
on a minute.
Okay,
This is the weirdest thing ever.
Okay, explain this.
This is the weirdest. This is another one of those strange connections in my life to Kevin that's just out of the blue.
Okay.
Because I remember my friend, my friend Louie, who was a high school friend of mine. Like, I just remember us chilling out I don't know. It was actually before him. It predated him because it was like from 87 or 86. So it was probably me and Rick.
Yeah, Buddy Rick.
Yeah. Me and Rick were hanging out, and on HBO was this weird show came on called The Return of Bruno. And it was this HBO special, and it was like a mockumentary about this musician all through time.
I kind of remember it. I didn't watch it.
And I'll never forget, because I did lift one sort of obscure reference musical joke.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yes, he's reformed a band with 7 girl bass players. That's the only thing I lifted, because apparently at one point, in Bruno's career, he formed a band with 7 girl bass players. Wow. It was his avant-garde period.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was like this, it was a very self-aggrandizing video about, but we got a kick out of it. And I even think Rick got the Bruno tape or CD when it came out. And
that sounds like he would do.
Yeah, because it was harmonica.
Yeah. And Kevin,
Rick liked
loved
blues. He liked harmonica play. He was a big fan of Pigpen, and obviously also a big fan of
Blues
Traveler, which came later.
Sean Pop.
John Popper came later. Yeah. And then to find out that later on in life, that while Ernie and Kevin were driving around in his fucking Rambler, the only tape that I think was stuck in the tape player, or they just loved it so much, was The Return of Bruno.
Oh my God! You could have been watching it, and he could have been listening to it at like the same time.
So fucking weird.
It's just so like some of that emo stuff that we listen to sometimes. It's just very emo Kev. It's very It's just nostalgic because we were probably doing the same shit.
Yep, Grace's Donuts.
Yep.
All that shit. All those such nostalgic
I know.
touch points in
I
my
know.
life.
Today is a birthday for one of in
yes.
Kevin Smith's universe. One of our favorites, Rosario Dawson's birthday is today.
Indeed.
Happy birthday, lovely, lovely lady. I hope
Yes.
you have a beautiful day.
Yes, indeed.
And
Well, I know one thing we could do. We can do a correction on the Amazon thing because we announced it. It might have been last show, might have been the show before that, that they had announced something going on, a deal with Amazon where Hollywood Babylon would be showing on there. But then I saw a tweet by Ralph saying that actually didn't happen and, just vanished. I mean, it seemed to just go away as quickly. So I'm not sure what happened there, but apologies for misreporting the Amazon thing.
Well, it seemed to have been going through, but it didn't.
Yeah, well, I couldn't find it anywhere on Amazon, too.
Right.
So, admittedly, I was like,
Right.
well, I'm not sure what this is about.
There's also a lot of evenings with Kevin Smith happening, guys. So check out CSMOD.
Yeah.
There's some in June in Buffalo. We're going to see him in Atlantic Highlands May 21st.
Yes. I think another thing we can announce is that they did the 100th anniversary. I think maybe we talked about this last time.
Just a teeny bit, but we
They did the 100th anniversary of Smodcast.
Smodcast. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm like Smedline, Smodcast, Smodimations. What am I? Of Smodcast with Scott Mosier, who's in France, and now it was revealed on, I think, the last Fatman on Batman. They might have mentioned it in the episode itself, and maybe I missed it, but he's going to be there for like 2 years.
Yeah, he's got
with his current project,
and it's secretive too.
Yeah, so he's most of those kind of projects are.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the Smedlines from henceforth, Smedlines, the Smodcast. I can't.
Will be more Skypey.
Yeah, we'll be more Skypey moving forward.
It actually sounded good.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah.
Just to have the two talking again was good.
I know that Kevin gets a vibe off people though, so it's important. And we know being podcasters, it's different when you have the person right here with you.
I think Kevin is nostalgic.
Yes. Oh my God. To the
absolutely nostalgic. But not even, but like, ritualistic.
Yes.
And so, whatever rituals he and Scott developed.
Absolutely.
Skype is a big change in that ritual.
It is.
And I get that, you want to work with a person.
Right.
Physically, and it gives you different energy.
And if we have the option, we always like to have the person here.
Of course.
It's just and it's a more intimate vibe.
But without Skype, we wouldn't have half the shows we would have. So we're very,
Thank you,
we've
Skype.
learned to work with it.
Thank you, Skype.
Yes. After an hour, it goes. So I guess that's the Smedlines for
Smedlines for today. And check out CSMOD.
I feel like there's another story I missed, but hopefully I'll remember it and maybe jump in or whatever. But all right, that's the Smedlines for this week.
Yes, it is.
This has been the Smedlines with Gene Holden.
Wow, so international.
I know.
The international language.
So international.
It is. It's very international. It's the international language of love.
Of love. Of amour.
So I chose to not video this show at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be no YouTube version of it. It will only exist in audio podcast form.
Okay.
And just because I feel like part of this will be a confessional, part of this will be a review of Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not sure where to start.
Right.
So I figure let's start out light. Let's start out with Guardians of the Galaxy. Because Kev and Mark just put out their review on video as well. And so it's a good time to... Now, you may want to check out their review first. Obviously, see the movie first, because this is going to be loaded with spoilers. Or some spoilers. But Kevin's review was, he loved it. And I loved it. And I know, speaking for Jean, I know she loved it.
Oh my God, I loved it.
So
I loved it so much I couldn't speak after.
yeah, I personally, now both Kevin and Mark like the first movie more, and hey, I agree. I love the first movie.
Oh
It's
my
great. I mean, obviously, without the first movie, you can't get to the second movie. But I like the second movie more.
Well, and the first of anything.
I enjoyed it more.
Right.
Like I laughed more in the second movie, and I fucking cried more in the second movie.
God.
Like the first movie, I know, like definitely at the beginning, they catch you off guard.
Yeah.
By having a mom die of cancer and a kid be abducted, and the first thing you hear is the yell of a screaming mom.
Oh.
So that just like rips your heartstrings out in the first moment of the first Guardian, and then at the end they call it all back with the "Take My Hand," and so that's a big heavy thing with that movie. But the second one, like this. The third act is Michael Rooker's movie.
Michael Rooker stole the show.
He steals the movie without even trying.
Oh, my God.
And by the end, and spoilers, by the end, I mean, I had a hoodie on in the theater. I just had to pull it over my head because I was like, there was like hot tears coming down.
Stained with tears.
Yeah, and it was just like, and then they play this, and then
Cat Stevens.
Yeah, then they do this shit to us. So it's like, oh my God.
And just when you hear that, it's like fucking A.
And this song can rip out my fucking heart
I know.
without even all the bullshit. So
it's so beautiful. What a beautiful song. Cat Stevens does a great job.
Yeah.
And the music they picked for this movie just is...
Now, okay, here's just a quick rebuttal to my hero and pal, Kevin Smith, but difference of opinions is what makes the world go round. I think he made a comment about the soundtrack that it didn't connect as much as the first one. Now, I think I kind of thought the same at first glance.
Right.
But then, okay, I listened to both soundtracks today with kind of that in mind. And you know what I realized? There's some really great songs on the first soundtrack. And there's some that really do, like, hook into my memory as a kid.
Oh,
and just pull from nostalgia. And one of them was, Hooked on a Feeling.
Right. Ooga, 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 shaka.
Yeah. And there was a couple other on there, obviously. All good songs. And I know many of them from the first soundtrack. And over time... Certainly over the summer that movie came out a few years ago, that soundtrack got, played to death. And it's a great soundtrack. I could still throw it on and enjoy it. But I think there's some of that, the fact that we all sort of dove into that soundtrack and overplayed it, essentially, and got so familiar with it. We got more familiar with that soundtrack than we probably did when those songs were out.
Right.
Because, I mean, Cherry Bomb's a great song, but I don't remember a lot of people being all nostalgic for Cherry Bomb until then.
No.
Let me think of some others. I'm Not in Love. That's a song that pulls from my past, but it's more nostalgic than...
The Pina Colada song.
Pina Colada, another one. Not a song that I necessarily like, but it just pulls at a part of my past that's like, and like Kevin Smith does say, when you hear songs like that, I think it does sort of give you the feeling that, there's still time. It puts you back in a space where you're back to where that was when you heard it, and you feel like there's still time in your life.
Right. But music brings you to a place, and if it brings you a place and you smile maybe for 30 seconds, what a better place to go? Or it brings you an emotion, like a sad emotion, but it brings emotion. Yeah. It brings you back to a time that you just can't escape.
Yeah, So anyway,
it's very cool.
So concerning the soundtrack, but then when you go into the new soundtrack, and I was like, but that's not actually. There are some songs in there that hook me back again. And let's see.
Oh my God.
For instance, My Sweet Lord by George Harrison. That one I was just playing. The Father and Son. The Chain.
Ugh.
Cheap Trick. Surrender's in here.
Yes.
I think there may be more songs on this soundtrack that were closer to songs that were in
Mr. Blue Sky, ELO.
I mean, I knew that song, but I was a much
yeah.
The other one, It's a Living Thing, was more my jam.
Glenn Campbell, Southern Lights.
The Glenn Campbell, even that song, it's like, wow, I remember hearing that a lot as a kid. So, I don't know. I think you may want to read, and of course, Brandy.
Oh my God, Brandy,
which was so important to the movie after all.
Right, and Sam Cooke. There was a really sweet moment with Gamora.
Yeah. There's only like maybe one or two disposables on the soundtrack.
Yeah, but Sam
Flashlight. I mean,
I know.
I wasn't into it in the 70s, but in the retro 90s, I was definitely into, some Parliament. So.
And, of course, David Hasselhoff.
Oh, yeah, which is just kind of a fun thing at the end.
It was cute.
The Hasselhoff.
The movie, it's...
So, I think Kevin might want to rethink that criticism, because you just... I kind of think you think that until you actually look at it again.
Right. Well, and he might listen to it a few times and change his tune.
Yeah, I may realize, oh, wow, this is my jam after all.
Yeah.
Now, they also didn't... They liked the first one more. I really... All the fathers and son stuff, just... Maybe it's... maybe people either have more father issues or mommy issues, and that's what pulls the strings, but apparently... The father stuff resonated with me in this. And also that, like in the first one, we established they're all damaged.
Yeah.
And that's sort of, and it's them pulling together.
Right.
And this one, we get to dive deeper into why are they damaged.
Yeah, I mean, they're still damaged. We're just trying to find out more about it. Each one.
Yeah. But we're peeling back that onion. We're getting it at some real...
Yeah.
Sources. And then again, the young and now I'm going to make this sound like it's some tearjerker. This movie is loaded with fucking laughs.
Oh my God.
There were some moments that there were one or two where I did the Cape Fear, I'm the only guy in the fucking room laughing. I don't remember what they were, but there was one joke that I was laughing and I was the only one laughing, and I was laughing loud.
I was laughing. Like, a lot of people didn't laugh a lot.
Oh, there was tons of laughs in ours.
There weren't as much in ours.
There's a lot of physical humor. Just a lot of stuff going on in this movie.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun.
A lot of fun. A lot of heart. Drax.
Oh my God.
They play him brilliantly in this one. He is so funny as a character, and the way he delivers things, and they sort of give him a new foil, which is Mantis, which is a new character. Of course, Kurt Russell is introduced in this movie as Peter's father, as Ego, the living planet.
Ego Quill, right? Is his last name?
Well, no, it's Ego.
I thought Quill was his last name. No,
Peter Quill is his name,
Quill,
but
okay.
That could be his mom's name for all we know.
That's true, yeah. But Ego is his dad, yeah.
Yeah, Ego, the living planet.
And you'll know why when you see it.
And, so I remember, I think Ben Gumry wrote something to the effect of, whatever you think the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is going to be, you're probably wrong.
Yeah, it wasn't anything like
that. Yeah, it really isn't. It's nothing. It doesn't really tie into the first one in any way other than it's the continuing mission, the continuing adventures of. There's a couple of nods. Some of the consequences of the first movie affect them in the second one, but nothing that would, if you were going in cold, would affect your ability to enjoy the story.
Right. I had no idea where it was going to go. I really didn't.
I mean, obviously, it helps to know all the characters up front.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, the first one's an origin movie.
Yeah, that we know.
And, so, I don't know. This movie just, ripped out my heartstrings. Because the third act is all about Yondu, which is Michael Rooker's character. And essentially, this is a bad dude. And he abducted a kid, but what you really realize is the reason why he never gave the kid back was because he cared about him.
He loved him.
And then eventually he loved him, and he became
Michael Rooker,
a surrogate father. But admittedly, a very bad one.
I know, but he tried his best. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a case of he was, this really peels back his character as well,
right.
What his motivations were. And, he's obviously, the product of his upbringing, which
right.
is, parents that sold him into slavery,
right? Yeah,
as a child. So,
and he and Rocket had a moment.
Yeah, he has this is like the Rooker movie here because he has a moment with Rocket. He has a moment with like all the members of the crew, all the main Guardians, and then. Spoilers if you haven't heard. I mean, this character is doomed. He sacrifices himself for Peter.
Yeah, so he won't be around.
And he has a moment that's where my heart was ripped out. So, even thinking about it, I get choked up again.
I know, but he delivered everything brilliantly.
Yeah, he said all the right things.
He really did,
in
all the right way, and he was just so sincere and loving, and it was just really, it was a wonderful movie.
He did have the best. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Oh my God, I'm Mary Poppins.
I'm not even gonna say more than that. But that when he said that, like, oh my God, that made the movie for everybody. I mean, it was just like that is awesome.
I think everybody laughed during that.
Yeah, and that's when you're like, oh wow, and a lot of like Mark and Kevin were talking about. When did you know that Yondu was a goner? And I honestly didn't know until he said to Rocket or whoever it was,
I know,
go. I need you guys. I got this one. You got to give me this one, which was essentially saying, I'm not going to make it back.
Yeah.
I may not make it back, but I'm doing this to save our guy here.
Right.
So, yeah.
Like, let me do this good deed.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
I know, I loved it. And I will say, I liked it more than the first. But I love the first one. There was more dancing. Chris Pratt danced more in the first one.
And the whole, again.
And it was just
I was a hot mess by the end of that thing because first he dies, and you have this big powerful scene. Then they do a funeral for him.
Oh.
And then they fucking got rocket ships. And then you got the Guardians of the Galaxy reunion of the original guys. And all this shit is going on. It's like
Sylvester Stallone.
Spoilers. If I worn mascara, it would be all down my face at that point because I was just a bucket.
Yeah.
I pulled my hoodie up.
It was so...
I almost pulled the drawstring closed.
Right.
I had to keep pulling my shirt up to dry all the fucking tears. I don't know. It just ripped out my heartstrings.
It does. Go see it if you haven't seen it. It's well worth it. I think we're going to go again.
And it may be that also my adoption plays a role in this, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Parents giving up kids, all that kind of shit.
That abandonment thing. I mean, because that's a big part of it. And Kurt Russell, you know what? It was amazing.
Oh my God.
I just didn't know that was going to happen.
Oh, there's a moment.
I just didn't know.
This one we won't actually spoil.
I don't know that one.
Oh.
What the?
Echo thinks we're talking to him.
There's a moment where it just, oh my God, like when it all turns. There's a moment where it all turns, and just the way it comes out. I'm glad that you had the same impact because it is like a gut punch.
And when he says that certain thing, it's like, what?
It's like a gut punch or a punch in the balls.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa.
And wait, can you repeat what you just said?
No, you didn't need to repeat
No.
shit. I heard it right the first time.
I can't believe you just said that.
And it was amazing, and the reaction was great.
Oh, yeah, the reaction was great.
And you know what? Again, I didn't mind that it was a more internal exploration of the characters as opposed to bigger, better, more. But there is still a lot of that stuff,
right?
Like the Sentinels or the Gold people. And
I have a question for you. You didn't expect that, like what we were just talking about, what we're not going to reveal. But did you really know that he was going to be like that?
The bad guy?
Yeah. Did you know that? Like, was that like?
I just spoiled it for you.
I didn't read the comics, the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. I don't know if that was ever a thing. Like, was I the only one that went in and knew that he wasn't someone you thought was going to turn bad?
Well, I mean, the name should give it away.
I know.
ego with
and
the
you
living
know what?
planet.
It probably should have, but I loved that they were reunited.
The celestial planet bad guy.
And they're celestial, and it's all
But,
good.
again, that's a Fantastic Four character they pulled to use. But it makes perfect sense in that universe.
Right,
so.
and they're playing catch with, like, the fireball or whatever.
That was very goofy.
I know, but it was so cute.
Yeah, see, there's so many little laughs, so many moments where
because he never got to play catch with his dad,
Yeah,
shit like that. And this is major spoilers, but it's just, there's every character is just in the moment. That's just a great movie.
A lot of heart.
It has a lot of heart.
It's a roller coaster ride, like the first one. It's a roller coaster ride. 1 minute you're laughing, and the next minute you don't even see it coming, and you're crying, and it's got a fucking stupid raccoon in it. A talking raccoon, and yet you're having your heartstrings pulled out because you buy it. You buy that stupid raccoon because. It's the characters. It's
raccoon.
Well, you do.
I know.
You buy that it's a genetically engineered mutant. I mean, he was a raccoon who's been fucked up, who's been fucked with.
Can I pet your dog? He's so cute.
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah.
And then they're like, sure.
Yeah. I just made that up. See, that's all I'm going to say. I laughed like Drax.
But he laughed.
in the
it's so
movie theater.
forced, but it's so perfect. Oh, it's so great.
You are so ugly.
You are so ugly. I can't even look at you.
Do me next. Do me next.
You're so pretty on the inside.
She just exposed your greatest fear.
That was a great part. Oh.
Do me!
He was so funny. Oh, yeah. He's like, do me next. Yep. He was good. He was good. Even better than the first. He was great anyway.
So funny. Drax steals the show and fucking... And then, of course, there's the moments with the sisters and stuff. Like, there's... She really did... Nebula grab me when she's describing her experience.
Oh,
I was
God.
like... Not every actress can bring you there, but she brought me there. I really did start thinking about shit. That's a fucked up existence, and then you have to wonder: can't she lose just once?
I know.
So that I don't have to endure this pain,
and it was
of having my guts ripped out.
And it was such like a twisted thing because she couldn't help but be mad at her sister. But
essentially, you know why people can relate? That's an abusive relationship.
I know.
I mean, those are daughters of an abuse.
I know.
All of this is like space shit.
Well,
but meanwhile, the emotional underpinnings of that dialogue are two sisters of an abusive father.
And they're left to
no two ways about it.
Fight together and blame each other, like that whole thing. Like that's what.
Yeah, that whole dynamic is a real dynamic.
Meanwhile,
even though it's a comic book movie.
Meanwhile, the adult in the picture is the problem.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
It's a very. They did great. It was an amazing movie. I'm crying now thinking about it.
I will bathe the starways in your blood, boy.
And then the next scene, you're laughing like about that guy's name. Like I was just like, oh my god, it's the funniest thing. And I was
but the other, remember the movie does the first Guardians of the Galaxy does that a lot too.
Right, and Rocket I loved.
Yeah, I like the credit sequence in the beginning. It was fun. It was and again, I want to talk about Kevin's sort of juxtaposing the two movies and saying that he preferred the first one.
Yeah, but
they're two different movies. You can't get away with that again. We already know the tone. We already know what we're in for from the first movie.
Right.
You couldn't open it the same way. So I think choosing to go big and a fun spectacle was a good way to go. Kind of put everyone in the mood for.
Well, because the first one was him. Like it was.
Yeah. It was him dancing in that weird environment, and you're like, wow, this is. I've never seen a spaceman dance in a Raiders of the Lost Ark environment with laser stuff. It was such a mosh.
Yeah.
It was not a mashup.
Yeah, but it made sense there when you think about it.
Mosh.
It made sense in the first one, but it wouldn't have made sense in the second. It just wouldn't have jived with the movie.
In the same way that Jon Favreau said that, he opened Iron Man 2, not that many people. He opened it like a big superhero spectacle because your hero has been established. Yeah. So now we want to up the ante.
Yeah. And he is
I
over the top.
I liked, just for the record, I liked Iron Man 2 more after the fact.
I liked Iron Man too.
I liked it, but like a lot of people didn't. But I really, when you watch it in comparison to 3, I like 2 better.
Yeah.
It introduces you introduce a lot more characters.
Right.
I don't know. I liked it. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know why I went off on that tirade because I think they were talking.
Well,
we're
no,
talking about
because-
2 movies,
Well,
Marvel
yeah.
2 movies.
Well, and Kevin was talking about it, so
Yes.
we're kind of going back and forth with that.
We're using his review as the basis of our review.
And then they kind of went into, he and Mark went into, Mark said that this was his favorite sequel.
Well, he
Marvel
did first,
sequel.
but then he corrected
And then he
himself
went
and realized
to-
Winter
then he
Soldier,
went
which
to-
I totally agree.
Winter Soldier was an amazing
This
movie.
feels really good, though. I mean,
Oh
it's
my God,
so
good. But you can't compare the two. They're two different movies.
it's so weird because of late
It's so weird.
Marvel movies have been like the ones that I like a lot are the ones I respond to emotionally and not necessarily because the story is really or like Doctor Strange.
Ugh.
There were moments of that movie like they moved me, man.
It really did. That was a beautiful movie.
Just the whole, because again, the underlying themes of, surrender to win and, all that kind of shit. And I don't know.
Like
And
the breaking down of
this one
Yeah.
also, this movie had such a heart. And that's when I realized in the first movie, that could be nothing more than the heart gem.
I know.
The heart stone, sorry.
Well, and
Because like both Guardians of the Galaxy movies are so loaded with heart.
they brought such a humanness to it.
Yeah, but they have heart at their core.
Uh-huh.
That could only be the heart gem that they had that
Oh my God,
they
yes,
possessed. That would be my speculation.
I would agree with you.
Since the mind gem was the one that Loki had, and I don't even know the rest of them.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
don't-
some Marvel. If we had Joey here, he could. He could
If anybody
it's been a while.
If
dude,
anybody
so.
knows, let them know. Let
Plus
us know.
There was also so many cool little cameos and Easter eggs in this.
Like Stanley.
Yeah, Stanley with the Watchers.
Oh my
and
God.
so here's what I've done a little research on this. So if you talk about what Stanley is saying to the Watchers, he's talking about being a FedEx guy. Now, the way this works and the way that Peter Gunn decided to do this was he believes that Stan Lee is a Watcher. And so or works for the Watchers. And so when you see Stan Lee in any cameo in any Marvel movie, he is the same guy, just there gathering information for the Watchers.
Ah.
He is Yandu or whatever, the Watcher. So, yes.
Cool.
That's a way out there thing. And she's like, I have no idea.
No,
what the
it's
fuck
cool.
this guy-"
I don't know. I mean,
The Watchers are those 3 guys
Yes.
that when Stanley's in the spacesuit.
Yeah, I remember.
and
He's like,
talking
guys, aren't you my ride home?
Yeah, exactly. Those
Yeah,
are
I'm like splurting out spoilers all over the place.
Well, we said up front that this
Yeah.
will be spoiled the fuck out of.
Yeah.
So if you don't, if you're not into it, turn it off. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen it, turn it off.
You
Don't-
need to go see it.
Yeah,
You need to go see it now.
And then watch Kevin's review, and then you can clock in.
Listen
with
to
this one.
ours too. Yeah, we enjoyed it.
Yes, I think that's enough about it. I think we've sucked its dick now for a
Yeah.
good 15, 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, there are a lot of dicks in that movie.
Yeah.
No, not in a bad way. Penises are not bad.
No, I don't know what you mean anymore. I don't know what you're talking about. You sound crazy to me.
I do.
This sounds like a good time to talk about. All right, we want to take a moment to talk about Death Wish Coffee. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, do yourself a favor and get over to deathwishcoffee.com. And there you can buy the strongest coffee known to man without a prescription.
The world's strongest coffee ever.
Yes, as proudly displayed on my wife's sweatshirt over there.
Yes, on my body,
Yes.
on my mug,
Yes,
on
it's
my
on my mug.
K-cups. Not
Yes, and you'll know them by their telling sign of the skull and crossbones that
It's
tells
so
you
good.
exactly what you're in for. It's that used to be the international symbol for poison, but now it is the symbol for good damn coffee.
It's awesome. Without milk, with milk, you don't really need it because it's strong.
But
it's
not bitter?
Not bitter. So you don't even need milk. You don't even need sugar, but you can add it if you'd like. It's just really, really the perfect, strongest, most awesome coffee.
Become a junkie of Death Wish, just like the Anderson Council. And
we got him hooked.
again, deathwishcoffee.com. Thank you very much.
Enjoy it.
I want to take this time to mention to you www.audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. That's right, www.audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. That's one word, conjunctified. Go there, sign up for your free 30-day free trial. Sign up, get a free book. A free audiobook, because you don't have to go through no tedious reading. You don't have to turn no fucking pages. You don't have to do any of that bullshit. You get in your car, you put on your headphones, and you are listening to a book. You're taking a magical journey into a fictitious land. You're expanding your mind, all when you're stuck in traffic. Fucking amazing. Audiobooks. These are the wave of the future. And you can get in for free for 30 days. A free trial. And when you get your free trial, you can download a copy of Tough Shit by our Savior, Kevin Smith. That's right. Our Lord and Savior, Kevin Smith, has left words for us to follow in our lives. And we can get it for free just by signing up to audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. That's right. audibletrial.com/ThatMan on Fatman. Thank you. Please sign up. You'll be very happy you did. There you go. There's our spots. Get that out of the way. And we're back. Hope you're enjoying this episode.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. So now, so there's shit that I've had on my mind for a while now. I've been wanting to share. I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know how this is going to go. I don't know how I'm going to say what I'm going to say and in what manner. I'm afraid that no matter what I say, someone out there is going to take it the wrong way and infer things from this that I don't mean, but I can't control a lot of that. Part of the reason I'm worried about that is because when I start to unravel all this, you'll go, hey, I could see why you'd be a little upset about that. And the reason I'm even bringing this up is because just recently I had a birthday. What's today's date? Today is
May
the
9th.
So April 30th is my birthday.
Yes, happy belated birthday,
Thank you,
sweetie.
thank you. And I bring that up because now, the day after my birthday is May 1st. And I know that there will be those out there who will claim that I'm making more drama of something that I'm not, but you know what? Fuck these people.
And can I
fuck these people?
Can I say something?
Enough. It's enough.
Right.
Anyone who wants to evaluate or judge my relationship with someone based on our text conversations, our phone conversations, our relationship together, who can say who my friend is and who isn't,
and how you feel,
and how they feel towards me, and how I feel towards them, and how that stands,
right.
and
and it's such a personal thing that how can anybody
now? I mean, and then I remember at one point saying to somebody, and more will be revealed in a moment, but like, what do I have to do? Show people my fucking text messages? I mean, what do I have to do?
Right.
So, all right. Anyway, let's wind this all back. So it was a year ago. It was a year ago on May 1st that Marco Costello, good time fellow, passed away. And those who may have known him, he was on our show in our first season. He was a really good guy. He worked in the stash. we met him. Obviously, we met him in the stash, but he was a deadhead, and I'm an old deadhead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't talk about it a lot, but it's just one of those things. So there was a certain language that we could talk.
Right.
You know, we could talk Dead songs, and there were times when we would text Dead lyrics at each other that, you know, would summarize how we felt at any given time about a situation in our lives. So, and he was one of the few persons that I could do that with. The person that I did that with prior to him, it wasn't text messages, but was, you know, phone conversations, was Rick, an old friend who passed away, who I've mentioned earlier in this episode.
A very, very close friend.
Yeah, one of my best friends who passed away when he was like, you know, he didn't even make 30.
Yeah, he was in his 20s.
Yeah,
He was a baby.
Like 28.
Yeah.
Anyway, who was also a deadhead, and we shared a lot of good times, and would have been a hell of a podcaster, had an amazing sense of humor.
Squishy man.
Yeah, squishy man. So, anyway, I think I did a BCJ episode about him, or that it might have been a ThatMan episode, one or the other.
Just an all-around sweet person.
Yeah. Anyway, so admittedly, there probably was a bit of that kind of entanglement in the feelings when Marco passed.
Yeah.
You know, it was sort of like, oh, now I'm reliving Rick's death.
It was intertwined, absolutely.
Because Rick went way too young, as did Marco. Anyway, so now people say, well, you know, so okay. Now I want to get to how I heard about Marco passing, because it's all sort of, it makes for a very intense experience. So April 30th was my birthday. May 1st was Kevin's show at, where was that show? That was at
was that at the Stress Factory?
Yeah, that was at the Stress Factory.
That's when we met Vinny.
Vinny,
the guy who owns the...
Yes, yeah, I'm like, Vinny.
No, not that Vinny.
Not
the
that
Vinny.
Vinny.
Yeah. Vinny brand.
Yeah. So, just what happened was, we were there, Kevin was doing a show, we filmed Vinny Brand for
a podcast movie.
for our documentary we've been shooting. There were some hopes that maybe we could catch Kevin, you know, in between sets or whatever.
Yeah.
But what were we thinking?
Right.
So we had all this gear set up in an area that Kevin was going to need to use to leave. You know, that he was definitely going to pass through. Originally, it was supposed to be his smoking area.
Yeah.
But the green room turned into his smoking area.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that, folks, is the green room is literally like a dry-walled off room in the center of the comedy club room. So, I mean, needless to say, the whole club smelled like fucking weed.
Yeah, so it's not like a private quarters.
No, it's not like something that has, you know, that has any kind of ventilation.
Like a fan.
Yeah. It's literally just like a dry walled off area of the club
that's collecting smoke everywhere.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny.
It was funny.
And it was just him and Malcolm in there smoking.
Yes, Malcolm was there.
And it was just this amazing night too, because Kevin's doing his usual, you know, getting the crowd pumped and getting them into a creative space. And he called me out and singled me out and said, Scott Holden's in the crowd tonight. And Scott never envisioned making a documentary, but he's here tonight. He's shooting a documentary. And it was like,
he's done all the stuff that I talked about.
Yeah. And like, for one moment, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
You were like levitating.
Yeah. I wish we had been rolling at that very moment.
I know.
Or even just recording.
Yes.
But so amazing night.
It was.
Yeah. And so now we're breaking down. Let's just go to the end of the show. We're breaking down, and I hear, because there's a stairway to get up to the room we're in from down in the club. So I hear Kevin, and I don't know who the heck he was talking to. But, and I'm not saying this so that I sound like I'm buddies with Kevin. But Kevin and I at this point, like, he knows me upon sight. So he knows who I am. He knows my name.
And he'll look at you and say, "Hi, Scott."
Yeah. So me interjecting into his conversation as I was about to didn't seem out of line or nuts. So as he's coming up the stairs, he's got some entourage with him, and he's talking to somebody. He's like, yeah, I had to call back Jordan. And he said, I had to call her back because I got this text. Sorry about your friend Mark. To which, like, he said, so I had to call her and find out if it was Mark Bernardin. So I'm listening to this as they're coming up the stairs. And I knew, as soon as he said Mark and had died, I knew. And I said to Kevin, because by this time he'd reached the top of the stairs, I said it was Mark Costello, wasn't it? I don't know how I knew. I just knew.
Right.
And
because
said,
you had heard him talking about it.
Yeah, well, no. I mean,
he was coming up.
Well, I don't know how I knew it was Mark Costello as soon as he said Mark.
Yeah, something just
pulled my heartstring.
Something just felt, not right.
And he said, he looked at me right in the eye and said, yeah. Did you know him? I said, yeah. We're friends. And that's like, the rest of the night was kind of like fucked up and weird.
He was our friend.
And I remember doing that thing like you'd be cleaning up and then you'd be like, what the fuck? You know, you just stop. I remember just stopping and going,
wait a minute, he's gone.
What happened? You know, like all these things and being really bothered by it. But also in that very moment, knowing that at that time I was trying to reboot Bone Crushing Juggernaut as like a 3 to actually I hadn't set, at that time I was still like, I'm not setting rules. Right. I'm just seeing maybe daily, maybe 3 times. I don't know. Let me try this. I was doing it alone.
Yeah.
And just sort of trying to see what I could do. And this happened way too early in that process.
Right.
But I knew, well, I know what my show is going to be tomorrow. I'm going to do a tribute. And I tweeted that out. And I don't know why. Now, Kevin himself always, like, if something happens, the philosophy is get it now while the emotion is there, while the feeling is there.
Get it now.
While it's real, while it's not bullshit.
And share it because it's a real emotion.
Yeah, and so that's what I did. I went on BCJ the next day and I just opened the mic and I talked about Marco and I know I fucking cried because at the end I kind of closed it. See now, whenever Marco and I would talk, or, I'd go to the stash or whatever, and Marco, anyone who knew him knows he was such a nice guy, just such a booster. And you'd think, I remember if you listen to my interview, I'd say, is this guy bullshit? He's just too nice. But he wasn't. He was just a really nice deadhead, one of those rare guys who just wants to wear life like a loose garment, and so he does.
Especially when he said it in a nice singing voice.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
Anyway, so whenever Marco and I would talk, and he knew I was doing the documentary, and he was quietly my biggest booster probably in that organization.
Right.
And every time we would part ways, say goodbye, whatever, one of the last things he would say was, you're going to Sundance. Your movie's going to Sundance, Scott. I can feel it in my bones. And whether it was not nice or bullshit or whatever the fuck, he cared enough to say it.
Right, and it felt good.
And he said it consistently, and it was always throw a pal in there too. Your movie's going to Sundance, pal. That kind of thing. And he did it because Marco was a good guy and he was being nice. And
that was it.
Yeah. And it was a nice
There was
thing.
Nothing more than that.
It was a nice thing.
And it was nothing ever solicited.
And it always, made me feel better, of course.
It does.
Yeah. So that was special to me.
Right.
And I'm sure, actually, since I uploaded like 75 of the past audio BCJ episodes to our SoundCloud, which is like ThatMan Productions LLC. Mm-hmm. Like you can almost find all of our shows now, except for the most recent season of this show. There. Yeah. Fuck. Anyway. So I did this episode, and at the end, I talk about that, and I'm pretty sure I break up at the end, and that's I think where I end the episode, and it wasn't meant to be anything more than me expressing my grief.
Yeah.
And immediately the Twitter feed of TESD people. Trust me, most people who said things had some sort of TESD handle in their fucking name.
Right.
And they all, just started essentially a new phenomenon, grief shaming.
Oh, yeah.
People essentially saying that I was not entitled to my grief, and what right did I have to say anything about Marco?
Right.
Too soon.
Right. Well, how?
Meanwhile, I would like to point out that the guy this show is based on frequently does this. When David Bowie or Prince, when Prince passed, he did like 20 minutes on that.
Right.
This is so the whole too soon, all those criticisms. I feel personally, I just think they're all out of line. And I know one thing. I will never grief shame.
Oh my God!
I will never grief shame a person as long as I live now.
Grief shaming was worse than actually sharing your grief. I mean, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
It was ugly. It was ugly what people were saying and what they were doing.
Yeah.
And they were taking all the affection for Marco away by doing that.
Yeah. And at the time, there was only one. I did it wrong. Well, I didn't respond to most of them. Blocked and. That's the only way you can handle this. You can only block and, just keep on blocking.
Right.
And because you can't explain yourself to trolls. You just can't. No. The only thing that does is get you worse. There is no defense when people have decided to troll you for a reason that they've decided to troll you for.
And they're stuck on that, and there's nothing changing them.
Yeah. And the irony, too, is I just read the So You've Been Publicly Shamed book not too long before this, too, which was actually sort of helpful.
Yeah.
In that,
oh, yeah.
Now, Brian Johnson shot a tweet at me.
Yes, he did.
And I responded. And you know what? I should have just kept the first response in retrospect because it was simple and plain, and it really was how I felt. The second, then he said something back, and then I went back one more time.
Was it meaner? It was meaner, the second one?
It was a little more defensive, probably.
No, his towards you.
Oh, yeah.
It was
it was probably meaner.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, it was, and it's just,
And you know what? At that moment, I knew, I don't need to listen to TESD anymore. I don't need to listen to them for now.
Yeah.
If someone I like and someone like I admire and someone I've boosted is just going to shit on me because my friend died.
Right.
Like
because he was your friend too.
Yeah. My whole feeling was like, ew, this is icky.
Right.
And I feel I had such mixed feelings about all this shit too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm telling you, the audience. So I feel like in some ways I was betraying the audience by, essentially not listening to TESD anymore. And it extended. I stopped listening to watching comic book, but we'll get into that a little more.
Right.
So then, what's his name attacks me on Twitter, and then that's
Brian Johnson.
Yeah, and then that's when all the fucking real tweets start coming.
Oh yeah, of course, because he's retweeting.
Exactly. So then I'm essentially, the worst person in the world.
Yeah, persona non grata.
Yeah, because I gave a shit that my friend died. But here's where it takes a really strange twist, and I don't even know how to process this. And I know that my feelings were very hurt, and that's why, as a result, I've decided not to dive into this pool anymore, and I feel very much like I'm betraying my own show.
Right.
But again, I'm just getting honest about all this stuff, folks. So if
a while has passed, so you feel better about it.
I wanted to wait at least a year.
You have to.
In honor of Marco, because I felt it would be in bad taste to talk about any of this shit after he passed.
Because it's taking the focus away from him.
And again, the reason this came up is I don't want to make it seem like Marco was my best buddy and my best friend in my whole life, and and so therefore, no, I'm not saying that. He was a friend. You know, in that he was more than an acquaintance. You know,
and that should be all that matters to people. They don't need to know the extent of anything.
So, I don't even remember where I was going with that now. I was getting all upset. Yeah, so did I get to the funeral?
No, we didn't get to that part. We went to the funeral.
So we go to the funeral, and this is where I got really fucked up. And again, I feel like a betrayer and all this stuff. But so, when the tweets started flying, things started getting crazy. I was getting afraid, even for my, a little bit of my safety.
Yeah.
I was feeling paranoid. I was down in the dumps because Marco died. You're on the emotional roller coaster.
Right.
And
you have all these people hating on you.
Yeah, and you start to wonder, am I allowed to be grieving? Like maybe he's not my friend.
Am I doing it wrong?
Yeah.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah. But we go to the funeral, and I have to say I was nervous. I was nervous that somebody was going to do something fucked up and stupid. And
but we had friendly faces that we saw.
Yeah.
Too.
And we sat in the back. We didn't. It wasn't about us
in
any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And if I could have been, more invisible, I tried to be.
I know.
So, Mike Zapsik did the eulogy, and this is the part that I don't understand. I don't get, and it fucking really hurt my feelings, and I don't even get it.
And the fact that no one else got it either.
Well, it was made because of the comment and how it was delivered. So he was doing a eulogy for Marco, and you know what? Up until that point, I thought it was a good eulogy. But so he's sort of winding it down or wrapping it up or whatever you want to call it, going into the sort of a list of statements, with a theme. And the theme was, I don't want Marco back because of this. With building to the eventual, I want Marco back because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
right.
Just to kind of give you the theme. I don't really remember what many of them were. I don't want Marco back to say this or that, to make, to say hello to me when I come into the stash. To look at him on TV. But then he said, one of the ones in the list was a real, backhanded slap. And he's like, I don't want Marco back to tell me my movie is going to be in Sundance.
Gee, what was that? Who was that directed to?
Just stop for a minute. And it was like, why? What did you do that for? This is my friend's funeral. You're delivering his eulogy, and you used it as an opportunity to insult one of his friends. It never made any sense to me, ever. And I've always seen it as just nothing more than a cruel act. So, since that time, I really haven't been able to watch Comic Book Men either. So, I apologize to this audience for not being forthcoming with all this. And kind of feeling like a fan betrayer.
Well.
But all this shit hurt. So.
It does. It still does.
Yeah. And the reason it's so prominent, again, I was saying, it's not like he's my best friend, but my birthday is April 30th. Marco died on May 1st.
Right.
For the rest of my life, I'll always remember that the day after my birthday is the day Marco died.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. And I'll never forget him, because he doesn't deserve any of this shit.
No, he doesn't.
He was a good guy.
And he didn't deserve that eulogy.
No. Well, he didn't
that
deserve
part
he
of
didn't it. No one deserved that.
No.
And it was, I don't even get it. It was,
I don't know.
I don't know why I had to be the guy. Like, as though I killed Marco. You know what I mean? It's
that's
like
what. But that's what it made you feel like.
Yeah.
Like you killed him or something.
Up.
And the fact that Mike
It's
Zapsik,
it's been very fucked up. So.
And Mike Zapsik
And I have to say, that set a tone for this year that whole event has lingered. Its repercussions have lingered.
They really have.
Throughout the past year. And it's just, I'm glad I could finally put it out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, for like someone like Michael to say those things, it was very
I don't give,
strange.
I don't want maybe he was having his own grief issues. I don't know. I'm not scolding. I'm just saying this is what happened.
Right.
This is how I felt about
That's
it.
how he made you feel, exactly.
Yeah, and this is why I haven't been like Mr., And I think to some degree, I know, I know to some degree it's made Tesdy Groupie a little uncomfortable because I haven't been the rip-roaring Tesdy fan. She was always like, well, why don't you take that segment out of the show? And I was like, why? We love you.
We love you.
We love you. And,
right.
Maybe in time we'll,
Yeah.
I mean, of all the shit, Brian Johnson's fucking tweets, one or two tweets, really weren't. His original tweet, I really didn't take that much umbrage with, and that's why I responded pretty straightforward, which was like, anyone who knows me knows that that's not the case.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but then there's Walter. We love him.
Yeah, I don't think Walter loves me. I don't think any of them love me. They all see me as some kind of persona non grata. I don't even know. I don't get it. I don't get any of it. It's all very fucked up to me.
It is.
But I'm glad I can finally put it out there. And I know this might put a fucking some sort of, I don't know, crank in everyone's show, or I don't know. But it's all very weird. And
right.
It was about time it finally, I talked about it, and because I feel like there has been a strange, vibe
and
to the show.
And if you can't talk about it on a podcast, this is what it's
We
for.
need to exorcise these demons
right.
from the fucking show, because I feel like there's too much bad vibes from all that. It just has to come out.
And getting it out is like therapeutic.
Yeah.
And this is where we get, we podcast. This is how we get it out. It's our way.
Yeah. So I think we can leave it here to this week. I think I'm done. I think I've exposed enough of myself for 1 week, as they say. So, sorry if this isn't the normal Kevin Smith podcast that you're used to. A little more inside baseball. None of this is meant even to offend, even the comic book men or the Tesdy guys. I don't wish them any ill will. It's just my feelings were hurt by all that shit, and so I hadn't been that excited about, listening to them.
Right.
And it's so funny too, because it just spiraled out. Like I don't feel connected to that part of the universe as much anymore. It's just after all that. So I don't know. I would like to be.
Yeah, there's like an indifference there a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, one day at a time.
Yes. Yep. That's the one thing we do know is change is always
there. You go.
Constant.
Little honesty, folks, from ThatMan on Fatman this week.
Yeah.
Do with it what you like. I'll. If no one else told you this week, you're smart and good, and we will check you next time.
Bye, guys.
Staring out in space, looking for an angel smile and praying for some faith. Thoughts are drifting through my mind and filling it with fear. Is there something else out there, and just why are we here? Then I see the world will turn and we must be its guide. Dreams and nonsense schemes, gone comes we must reply. Powers from our mother earth, they'll blow us to our knees. While our souls combined as one, come join us if you please, if you please. Waiting moments one by one and smirking like a this very moment, for this moment's done. But now I see the dawn will come, and we are all its guide. Crazy dreams and nonsense schemes, the Godhead in the skies. Powers from our Mother Earth is all we'll ever be. All our souls to bind as one, come join us if you please, if you please. As we worship at our shrine, bursting flowers into bloom, there's no such thing as time. Powers from our Mother Earth will blow us to our knees. Twisting, turning minds are burning, join us if you please. And now I see that I am just beginning its demise. Flashing bits of comic light that vanish from the skies. Powers from our Mother Earth is all we'll ever be. All our souls to bind as one, come join us if you please. If you please. If you please. If you please.
There he is. It's that man standing over Blood Alley Square, protecting us all. Go get him, that man.